Hello there and welcome to Mad Doc Minis. In this video, I'm going to be making Imperial Guard Beastmen troops, kind of, you know, the abhuman beastmen that are kind of present in the lore of Warhammer 40,000 but aren't really acknowledged very much, only in hushed whispers from Games Workshop, really. I think they're a bit embarrassed of some of their earlier stuff and they're trying to get away from some of the fantasy tropes that are kind of, you know, involved. And so beastmen are kind of, they're there and they're not there in the lore, aren't they? I mean, if if you've been around the hobby a while, you'll know what I'm talking about. A bit like squats, really, there but not there. But I decided to try and make some. So I got this box of Ungors. I chose Ungors because they're slightly smaller and I think more human than the larger beastmen models, and which is good because we want that abhuman kind of look. And a box of Catachan jungle fighters. That was my starting point, but I did use some Cadian components, as you'll see later on in the video as well. So my first go at this was really just to try and glue Catachan jungle fighter arms straight on to the existing bodies of the Ungors, and this did not go well. Actually, it was pretty shit, in all honesty. So it didn't work well. You'll see that in this footage in a second that you're just left with these huge gaps, because the sockets, the arm sockets on the Ungors do not correspond with the expected sockets of the Catachan. So there you go, look at that. And I did try and force the issue. I did try and chop chunks out of the torso and chop chunks out of the arms to kind of make it work, and it just didn't. I mean, I'm sure you could persevere and make this work, but I'm not into lots of fiddly work, so I decided to give up after a while and go a different direction with this. So I decided to go close combat weapons and pistols for my first proper attempt, and that was done using all Ungor arms, mostly the kind of bow arms for the shooting, for the pistol arm, and just the close combat arms as is, so no conversion work there on the right arm at all, and just kind of chop down the lasgun to look like a big heavy duty semi-automatic pistol. I do have a technique to kind of retain a bit of barrel out of the end in a minute, which you should watch if you're interested in making it look a little bit better. But these came out okay, but they're not quite 40k enough for me, so I decided to go a different direction afterwards, as you'll see. But here I'm just demonstrating what I did. If you are looking to make them like I did in my first attempt, this is a really good way of just making those pistols look a bit better. We chop off the normal bits that we'd have to anyway if we were using them for Catachan jungle fighters. The stock and the handle go. Stock and the grip, sorry. And then we just kind of cut off the barrel, leaving a tiny bit, maybe a millimetre or two sticking out. So we don't chop it flush, which is what I did initially. So there we go, we retain some barrel, and then we chop off that little bit of underbarrel with some very delicate snipping. So that comes off relatively easily, and then just kind of give it a little bit of a delicate file around the end of the barrel, and that kind of just finishes it off, and that does make the pistols look better, definitely. So if you want to do this, guys, do that, basically. So I went a different direction afterwards with the second 5. I made 2 groups of 5. The second 5 were made using some Cadian components, namely the torsos, actually. So I like the armoured torso on the Cadians, and it does help to kind of Imperial Guard up these guys a bit. And yeah, I just kind of snipped the bodies, the legs and the torso in half of the Ungor. So really no finesse at all, as you've probably gotten used to if you've been watching me for a while. So that just comes off, and the Cadian torso gets glued on with very little tidying up. Okay, so that just goes straight on there. Some modifications of the heads. I chose the more human-looking heads. The ones with bigger horns I left because I wanted them to look kind of, as human as possible, if that makes sense, being an abhuman group. I thought that was quite important lore-wise. So we just snip off that ball a little bit at the back of the head, and they work absolutely fine after you've modified them like that. Yeah, just a little bit of snipping at a bit of an angle. Job done. Easy peasy. So we actually, or I keep saying we, it's because I'm from the UK, guys. It's royal family over here, and that it's the royal we, isn't it? So I use the Catachan arms to kind of mount the weapons and everything, because I like the idea of the kind of the bare muscle on the arms and everything. Just looks a bit more bestial, a bit more beastman like, just a bit better than the clothed Cadian arms. This is the sergeant, turned out quite well. Just use various bits of storage on the back of them, look here, to cover up the unsightly seams between torso and legs. Here we've got a horrible step in this one here, look, serious booty going on there, and we just cover that up with some pouches. Easy peasy. Looks fine after that, I think. So yeah, first batch, okay. Second batch definitely better. I think both are fine, but I think the second batch were definitely they're just more 40k really, aren't they? You've got the Imperial armor on there. They look better. So with these ones, you could use different pistols, different options to what I've done there, but I think they look quite cool the way they are. So they look a bit more primitive. So if you wanted like a primitive group, that would be your option. If you wanted something just a little bit more civilized, then you want the armor and the storage, and that just makes them look a little bit more sci-fi, I guess. I'm kind of happy with how they turned out. It wasn't too hard in the end, but not quite as easy as I was hoping for either. Thanks ever so much for watching, guys. Let me know what you think. I'm considering kind of breaking apart the first group and making them like this. If you think I should do that, let me know. Don't forget to like, share and subscribe if you've enjoyed the content. Thanks for all the support, and please let me know what you think. Cheers, guys.